Comedy Central's World News headquarters in New York, The Daily Show with Trevor Noah presents In the Foxhole.
We're learning things about what President Trump does before bed at night, and it's even worse than you think.
This week's New York Magazine reports that Trump and the Fox News host Sean Hannity speak on the phone most weeknights. The report also quotes a former White House official who says Hannity and Fox create a feedback loop that puts Trump in a, quote, weird headspace, adding, quote, what ends up happening is Judge Jeanine Pirro or Hannity fill him up with a bunch of crazy expletive, and everyone on staff has to go and knock down all the expletive fires they started.
Okay, you have to admit, it's cute that these two talk before bed every night. Yeah, they're like 8-year-old treehouse buddies with those cans on strings, you know, gossiping about which girls they secretly paid off, you know, or whether it's Yanni or Laurel. It's Laurel, by the way. But that feedback loop part is really weird for me, right? They're saying that President Trump says something outlandish to Hannity on the phone. Hannity then repeats it on TV, and then Trump watches that and goes, you see, exactly, that's what I was saying! Trump is like that gorilla getting riled up by what he's doing in the mirror. He's like, you see what he did? And here's my favorite part of this story. White House staff know that the calls happen thanks to the president entering a room and announcing, I just hung up with Hannity, or even ringing Hannity up from his desk in their presence. How are you both the president and a star? How? Like, no other world leader does that, you realize it. Putin's never talking to his assistant like, not a big deal, but I was at party with actor who plays Sheldon on Big Bang. Yeah, Elon Musk and Grimes there too, just saying. Yeah. So lawmakers in both parties are against Trump separating kids from their parents. And more surprising, even Trump is against Trump separating kids from their parents.
We want to solve this problem. We want to solve family separation. I don't want children taken away from parents.
Now, I know you might be a little confused right now. Like, why would Trump hate the policy that he himself made? But let's be real. You don't always love everything you make. And also, the president can't just change this policy. I mean, well, he can, but not without the approval of his most trusted advisors. And the problem is, the members of Trump's TV cabinet team, like, they seem to be fine with everything that's happening. For instance, here's the Secretary of Inhumane Services, Laura Ingraham.
Since more illegal immigrants are rushing the border, more kids are being separated from their parents and temporarily housed in what are essentially summer camps, or as the San Diego Union Tribune described them today, as looking like basically boarding schools.
Yo, what kind of freaky-ass summer camps did she go to? Was her family just dropping her off every June at state prison? She was coming out like, camp was so fun. We made license plates and shivs. And I got this teardrop tattoo. You only get that if you kill people. Yeah. But just to be clear, once again, the point is not how nice the places are that they're keeping these kids in, right? The point is that the federal government is snatching kids away from their parents. If you kidnap someone's kid, but you keep them in a really nice basement, that's still not okay. Liam Neeson wasn't like, what kind of food are you feeding her? What? Sushi. Well, I guess she has been taken care of. It's not how it works. So Laura Ingraham clearly won't be advising the president to stop separating these families. And neither will Director of False Equivalencies, Tucker Carlson.
This is one of those moments that tells you everything about our ruling class. They care far more about foreigners than about their own people. They don't care. Because no matter what they tell you, this is not about helping children. A lot of people yelling at you on TV don't even have children, so don't for a second let them take the moral high ground.
Wow. This angry McNugget seriously just said, you can't care about kids unless you have kids. That is the dumbest logic I have ever heard. How does Tucker not get that you can care about things that don't directly affect you? Like, I'm just glad that he's a TV pundit and not a doctor. Be like, Dr. Carlson, what should I do about my cancer? Well, I don't have cancer, so really, I don't give a shit. Yeah, I just don't. But if you ever get hemorrhoids, give me a call. Yeah. So, top advisors Tucker and Laura clearly won't let the president change this policy that he hates so much. And it's going to get even worse if he watches Fox and Friends, because Brian Kilmeade was making every single argument in one sentence at the same time.
As Nancy Pelosi steps over the homeless in San Francisco to hop on a plane to go to the border, to have a heart bleed for people from other countries that are coming here, understand we are $20 trillion in debt. We have classrooms that overrun. We have teachers buying their own supplies. These kids come in, fantastic, Oprah Winfrey. I'm glad you're upset about it. But these kids get fanned out to working class neighborhoods into our society, and then they have to be paid for by English as a second language, and then they got to be schooled, and a lot of them, sadly, when in my neighborhood, turn into MS-13.
What the f was that? I'm sorry, that's not an argument. That was just like conservative slam poetry. Just like Pelosi, Oprah Winfrey killing the American dream with MS-13, teen. Look, man, the fact of the matter is, separating kids from their parents is heartless, okay? And the only way that we can stop the government from doing it is to demand change. So, get on the phone and call the people who can actually do something about this. And I'm not talking about Congress, I'm talking about the policymakers at Fox News. Yeah, call them, because they can do something. They work for the president, which means they work for you. Today was a very bad day for President Trump. Not only was his favorite comedian found guilty, but then the man he picked for Veterans Affairs was forced to withdraw from consideration. And on top of all of that, Trump's 23andMe results came back and they confirmed that he's 50% Eric. So, Trump did what everyone does when they're feeling down. He called into a Fox News morning show, and it was honestly epic. Because normally, when Trump has a bad day, we know Trump watches Fox and Friends and yells at the TV. But today, he did the same thing, but we all got to listen in. And you could tell from the start that this was going to be special.
Thank you so much for being with us, Mr. President.
Well, good morning, and I picked a very, very special day because it's Melania's birthday. So I said, let's do it on Melania's birthday. So happy birthday to Melania.
All right, hopefully there'll be visits in between, but have you decided on, or do you want to tell us what you got her?
Well, I better not get into that because I may get in trouble. Maybe I didn't get her so much. I'll tell you what, she has done. I got her a beautiful card.
How did Trump mess up the world's easiest question? It's like they threw him a softball and he swung and hit himself in the dick. And I mean, it's her birthday. I can't believe that Donald didn't get Melania anything for her birthday. Now she might think he's not a very good husband. Also, I would pay anything to know what he wrote inside that card that he definitely didn't actually get. We're like, roses are red, love is a mystery, I had a historic electoral college victory. Why did Trump say he called into Fox and Friends? Because it was Melania's birthday. Like, what does that mean? He's like, honey, I've got a great celebration planned for us today. I'm gonna talk to some TV people while sitting on the toilet. Like, oh, thank you, Donald. My life is a beautiful dream. Okay, so the interview didn't get off to a great start. But then it got worse.
I get along with Kanye. I get along with a lot of people, frankly. But Kanye looks and he sees black unemployment at the lowest it's been in the history of our country.
Have Republicans done a bad job ignoring the black community up until now?
You know, I think it was just a custom. People don't realize, you know, if you go back to the Civil War, it was the Republicans that really did the thing. Lincoln was a Republican.
Republicans did the thing? Trump would make a dope history teacher. It would be so easy to pass. Class, what was the turning point in the Civil War? The Thing? A+. Like, he's the first sober person I've heard doing drunk history. That's amazing. Now, this interview was so long and incoherent and rambling that even Trump's friends on Fox and Friends became uncomfortable. And you could tell by the looks on their faces.
That I will not be involved with the Justice Department. I will wait till this is over. It's a total... it's all lies. It's an absolute disgrace. And by the way,
I want to ask you.
But think of it. For their loss of the Electoral College that they should never lose, because the Electoral College is set up 700,000 from a group. Years to approve them. Years. We have judges that you would think that these guys would treat me great. I made them a fortune, so they treat me horribly. And they treat me. People say you're still looking good, Mr. President. You still had much ass. There is no collusion with me. I would rather have the popular vote because to me, it's much easier to win.
It's a totally different set of goals as opposed to Electoral College.
But we have an Electoral College. Right. I got 306 and she got, what, 223. So remember, there was no way to break 270. I heard that on CBS and NBC and ABC. They're all fake news. I heard that for so long. It's CNN.
Let's talk about...
do better than people think in the
Mr. President.
You know, it's right.
Right. Well, we could talk to you all day, but it looks like you have a million things to do.
I can safely say that I've never seen a news anchor try to bail on an interview with the President of the United States. Like, how is it that he's the commander-in-chief, but it's the couch people who have better things to do? We'd love to keep chatting, but there's a video of a dog skateboarding that we have to get to, Mr. President. Goodbye. Like, I never thought I'd say this, but I actually almost feel bad for Fox and Friends. Because if you're at a party and some boring-ass dude wouldn't stop talking to you, you could just be like, oh, I have to go get a drink. But these poor guys are on live television. The only excuse they could come up with was that Trump probably had important things to do, when it was pretty clear that he absolutely did not. He was like, no, I actually have the whole day free. After all, it's Melania's birthday. It came out last week that Trump's personal lawyer, Michael Cohen, who is now in deep federal investigation shit, only had 3 clients in the past year. Right? The president, who Cohen helped to pay off a porn star that he had an affair with. His second client, a major GOP fundraiser named Elliot Broidy, who Cohen also helped to pay off a playmate that he had an affair with. Right? And then Michael Cohen had one more client. Right? Out of 7 billion people, 7 billion people, who could have wanted to join this club and use Michael Cohen as a lawyer last year? Only one other person did. And this person's identity was a complete mystery. Until today.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We are now getting word the lawyer for the president, Michael Cohen, has just disclosed in court that the client who had requested to remain unnamed was Sean Hannity of Fox News.
Thank you. Yeah, it turns out Michael Cohen's secret client was Sean Hannity, which, I'm sorry, is not a good look. You know, right now, Sean Hannity's probably on the phone with his wife, like, hey, honey, it's so weird how I use the guy who pays off mistresses to get me out of that parking ticket. It's funny, right? Hello? 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 Just think about how unethical this is for a moment, right? Hannity has been reporting on this Michael Cohen story from the beginning. But he conveniently never mentioned that Cohen was his guy. And I'll tell you what else. Once you know that Hannity has personal skin in the game, like with Cohen, it's fun to go back and look at everything he said about the FBI raid, because now we can see that Hannity wasn't just mad, he was scared.
President Trump's longtime personal attorney, Michael Cohen, just had his office, his home, and his hotel that he was staying in raided by the FBI today. This is an unprecedented abuse of power. Cohen's payment is a perfectly legitimate business move. Mueller's witch hunt investigation is now a runaway train careening off the track, spinning out of control. If you voted for Donald Trump, you better get buckled up, because this is going to be a rough ride.
You know, now that we know he was working with Cohen, that looks less like a news show and more like a guy really stressed giving himself a pep talk. It's just like, come on, we got to get buckled up. This is going to be a rough ride. Hoo-ha! Oh.
Good night from Washington. No one else is talking about Sean Hannity today, but he's here anyway. We're really glad to see him. Hey,
Is there any news? Anything happening? All right, thanks, Tucker.
I'm just say this. You're like my brother, but I'm glad for like a millisecond the heat's off me and on you. Okay, so I'm feeling.
I appreciate that.
You know, it says a lot about your news network when all of your top anchors are playing scandal tag. It's like, I made fun of the Parkland kids. Tag, you're it. I'm out. Thank God. Now, what people are really wondering is this. Whatever legal advice was, why didn't Hannity get it from his regular attorney, right? Instead of turning to a guy who's specifically known for paying off mistresses. Why did he go to him? But according to Hannity, baby, this is not what it looks like.
To be absolutely clear, they never involved any matter, sorry to disappoint so many, matter between me or third party, a third group at all. And my questions exclusively almost focused on real estate.
Wow, he really slipped in the almost there. Did you hear it? Yeah, it was super quick. It was super quick. He was like, all my questions to Michael Cohen were exclusively almost real estate. Exclusively almost. Exclusively almost. Yeah, he sounds like the voice at the end of those medical ads. Zernax is exclusively almost side effect free. Exclusively almost. You can't say exclusively almost. Exclusively almost is the kind of phrase that makes people ask more questions. If someone tells you that they exclusively almost have sex with adults, you're not hiring them to babysit your kids. That's not what you're thinking of right now. But okay, fine. Hannity claims he was just getting some informal real estate advice from Michael Cohen, which makes what he said a few hours earlier on his radio show all the more confusing.
I never gave him a retainer, never received an invoice, never paid any fees. You know, I might have handed him $10. I definitely want you attorney-client privilege on this, something like that.
Okay, whoa, no, okay, wait. So he's not your lawyer. All you had was a few chit-chats about real estate, but you definitely want attorney-client privilege. Yeah, you definitely want that. What the f did you bury under that house? No, I'm just saying, I've had a lot of conversations about real estate. At the end of it, I never went, this never happened. What Hannity did was so shady. Even when he tried to talk about other things on his show, his own guests had to call him out. And please, do enjoy.
A foreign national using Russian sources of all things to get it. Is that a crime in Alan Dershowitz's book?
Well, first of all, Sean, I do want to say that I really think that you should have disclosed your relationship with Cohen when you talked about him on this show. I think it would have been much, much better had you disclosed that relationship. You were in a difficult situation,
If you understand the nature of it, Professor, I'm going to deal with this later in the show.
No, I understand.
It was minimal. I put out a statement about it.
You should have said that, and that would have been fair to say.
It was such a minor relationship in terms of...
You should have said that.
You should have said that. You should have said that.
I beseech our American lawmakers from Congress and Senate to stop slinging mud across the aisle and come up with a bipartisan solution to an obvious epidemic of gun violence and mass shooting in America.
They don't need to tell us that we don't know what we're talking about. We have stared down the barrel of an AR-15 ourselves. We're just trying to not let 17 of us get shot in the face again.
I think that last kid is very relatable. I, too, do not wish to be shot in the face. Yeah. Wherever Malala is right now, she's like, that's what I've been saying. Yeah. We're all on the same page. Now, most people who see those kids are impressed by how articulate they are, and they're inspired by their passion. Other people, like ex-congressman and paid CNN contributor Jack Kingston, they think it's suspicious that these kids say they don't want to be shot in the face.
I think it's a horrible tragedy, and I'm heartbroken. But I also know that their sorrow can very easily be hijacked by left-wing groups who have an agenda. Well, let's ask ourselves, do we really think that, and I say this sincerely, do we really think 17-year-olds on their own are going to plan a nationwide rally?
I say this sincerely. Get the out of here, man. Really? Really? You think adults can convince teenagers to do something they don't want to do? Really? Like, you think these kids were actually pro-gun, and then what, George Soros showed up and he was like, who wants Skittles? Yeah! You're shocked that these kids can plan a few events? Like, if this guy had even seen one movie about high school, he would know that planning rallies is at least 30% of being a teenager, right? Yeah, the other 70% is falling in love with vampires. That's all it basically is. Now, Some pro-gun advocates are taking the opposite approach, right? They do believe that these kids are acting without adult supervision, and for them, that's exactly the problem.
The media is focused more on a teenager's expertise in supply-side control measures for guns, which, Tucker, let's be candid, they probably have not studied a very complicated, layered issue.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, you're right. These kids may not be professors in guns, but maybe being in a mass shooting gets you an honorary degree. Yeah? Maybe? Just maybe? Like, you do realize that if people weren't allowed to share their opinions unless they'd studied the issue, then Donald Trump would never be allowed to speak, right?